Today I'm here with Risha Grant, an internationally renowned diversity, inclusion, and bias expert. Risha is the founder and CEO of Risha Grant, an award-winning diversity consulting and communications firm. She's also the author of That's BS: How Bias Synapse Disrupts Inclusive Cultures. I want to start the conversation talking about something that is hard for people my age and not as challenging for the high school kids and middle school kids, but it's pronouns. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk a little bit about what that looks like today and how parents of teenagers can get on board and move into what is a new way of talking.
Right. So my issue around pronouns has to do with the fact that, our brains work on autopilot. And so for me, if I see someone that looks a certain way, but say they identify as male, but they look female, I'm probably going to mess that pronoun up. So I know, though, with the kids that we're talking to today, it's important, it's in their email addresses, it's how they introduce themselves. And initially it seemed like a lot to do, but if it's going to make them feel comfortable about who they are, then that's something that we need to do. I just found it difficult in understanding the transgender community.
So how do you, if someone looks a particular way, do you ask, is the question up front, like what pronoun do you use?
I just say, how would you like to be addressed? But I think we can keep it really simple by asking that, and people actually appreciate it because you're acknowledging something that's important to them. But I also think in the reverse that transgender people and everybody right now, everything is a thing, and we're going to have to give each other grace as we understand it and move through it together.
So I love that you just said that because we're trying hard. We'll go with the assumption that we're trying hard. I know I'm trying hard, and I feel badly when I get it wrong because it's not natural to me. So
Exactly.
in the idea of showing grace, does that apply to the conversation about race right now? Can we find grace for people to change today?
I think we're going to have to find grace for everybody. I think the difference between race and transgender is that the race deal has been going on for almost 400 years. And not to say that people don't still need grace, because they do. As sure as we need it, we're going to need to give it to someone else. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. I just think we need to be constantly working toward that. It's time out. It's been enough. It's been a long time, and people need to educate themselves and figure out how it is that they can be better and treat people better and make sure that their bias doesn't show up in their behavior toward others, whether that's transgender or people of color, Black folks, whatever that is. We know we have work to do, and we need to be doing that work.
And we've had enough time to get it right, and now's the time.
We have had way more than enough time to get it right. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you consult with schools, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're speaking to parents and teachers. What's the message that you're giving them?
To be intentional about making sure that they're inclusive. I think when you deal with schools, you deal a lot with bullying, and race and transgender, and all of those things fit into bullying. So it's always about being intentional about what it is that you're teaching your kids, what you're saying around them, and then making sure about how they understand what it is that you're saying to them or around them. So it's always about intentionality. When I went into the middle school and high school, so those were with the kids, and the middle school, it was all around the N word, whereas the high schools, it was around almost everything. They were dealing with and experiencing all areas of diversity and the negative sides of it.
Okay, let's start with middle school. So middle school is very focused on the N word.
Mhm.
What's your conversation with them?
I was trying to understand if they actually understood what the word meant. When I was growing up, we knew what the word meant. We knew that it was not okay to say. We knew why it wasn't okay to say. Now, yeah, we still said it, but we knew what was behind it. Kids don't really, in my experience, excuse me, in my experience, kids don't understand that today. Um, you know, the black kids that I've talked to, they don't know the history behind it. They don't know that there's blood attached to it and the hatred with which it came from. They see it as a term of endearment. Not to say older people don't, but we know the difference. The kids are taught that it's bad from their older siblings or their parents without understanding why. What I thought was interesting is that the white kids, they actually knew it was a bad word, but they would tell me that certain black kids gave them permission to say it and that it was okay. I always tell the kids though, just because someone's giving you permission or they're giving you a permission slip, you know, you have to understand that that slip is probably not, or that permission is not redeemable at all locations. And so you're going to have a problem somewhere when you say that to the wrong person, thinking that you have a pass.
So what's the solution?
I think they just need to stop saying it all the way around, because if it's causing anybody pain, you know, I don't think it's worth it. Especially that age, they don't understand. I just think across the board, leave it alone. It's easier.
Right, it's not so complicated to stop using it, and it's very
Exactly.
complicated to use it. Okay, so when you speak to the high
Exactly.
school kids, is there like one or two questions that come up every time you talk to high school kids?
No, it was just across the board. They were just upset with each other about everything regarding diversity. A lot of it had to do with political affiliation, believe it or not, and around Trump. And some of the kids who support Trump and kept saying "Make America Great Again," you know, and the black students were saying, "Well, who was it? Who was it good for? You know, who was it? You say again, you're insinuating that it was once great, you know, for everybody." And there's a large segment of people, whether it's people of color, black folks, gay folks, women, you know, there's a lot of people, if you go back in America's history, that don't think America was great to begin with. So just in allowing the kids to talk, it was, I thought they did a great job of articulating how they felt about that and trying to help each other understand why it has such a negative feeling for them.
Right now we're dealing with like sports teams changing their names and schools changing their names and statues being
Mm-hmm.
taken down. And there are still people who kind of roll their eyes at this and think like, why does this matter?
Mm-hmm. Well, it matters because a lot of those statues, to me, when you put a statue up of someone or you name a school or anything after someone, you are honoring them. Now, if that person that you're honoring has maimed, killed, subjugated millions of people, thousands of people, to actually expect those people to go to that school and be okay with that, I think it's ridiculous. I use an example of Timothy McVeigh, who, you know, most people in the world have heard of, but here in Oklahoma, it's near and dear to our hearts. He bombed one of our federal buildings and killed 168 people and children. There was a daycare in there. So there's not a lot of love for him here. But there's probably a subset of people who believed in what he stood for. And if they decided to open up Timothy McVeigh Elementary, how many people are going to be cool with their kids going to Timothy McVeigh Elementary School? I would bet everything that parents would be just totally ticked off and upset and willing to do whatever for that not to happen. Well, that's how Black parents feel. When their kids have to go to school, we have a Robert E. Lee here. If you look at Robert E. Lee's history, I don't want my kid going there. You know, I think when you honor people, you need to honor them for the greatest good that they've done and not just for one group of people. You can't be good to one group of people and kill and enslave thousands of others and that be okay.
Okay, you talk
We
about,
don't have Hitler high.
I'm sorry, say that again.
we don't have Hitler High School. So, I, yeah.
Yes, fortunately. So if we talk about allyship, what is that the same as anti-racism? Is that different?
I think it's different. Allyship is about it's about people standing with you, helping people that are typically marginalized who don't have a voice. And I think allyship, or I know allyship is a big word right now because people are trying to figure out how they can help. This has been the first time in my lifetime that I've seen white folks stand with Black folks in solidarity against something that they know is wrong. I just think that everybody's trying to figure it out right now, because what's happening in a lot of the conversations that I'm having is that white people are wanting to help and they're asking Black people to share. But when you don't have authentic relationship with people and you ask them to share some really serious trauma that's hurtful to you, and we don't have a relationship, that feels really awkward and weird for you to want me to relive that pain. And then when I'm reliving that pain, I have to do it in a way that makes you comfortable, so that it doesn't shut you down. That's a lot. So figuring out how you can be a good ally and making it about the person that it should be about, instead of making it about you and your understanding, because you can go and educate yourself. There are so many television shows now, and Netflix, and books, and all of these things that you can do to learn and educate yourself, that you don't have to ask the people that are going through this to educate you. But you can learn it, and then you can be in conversation with them about understanding how it is that you can help.
Last question. Are you feeling hopeful?
Yes. Yes, probably I've been doing this 25 years, and probably for the first time, because I'm seeing companies want to make real change. When I started this, I felt like a lot of companies are checking the box, and not to say that some still are not, but it doesn't seem that way. It seems like they really want to create change, and I personally like to believe that most people are inherently good. So I think I think and hope that we're going to figure it out.
Thank you so much for your time, Risha Grant, and I'm going to hang up with your optimism. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.